This is the Nokia 3300 music phone. Nokia designed this phone as their music phone. This was about the time when everyone was into their MP3s and file sharing. Does this device look familiar to you? Maybe a PSP perhaps? Or maybe you were trying to remember the N-Gage. If you don't know what the N-Gage was, it was basically Nokia's attempt at a Game Boy phone set to revolutionize handheld gaming. But this wasn't that phone. This was a lookalike that brought together a media player and a full keyboard for fast action texting. The Nokia 3300 features a 128 by 128 pixel LCD display, a full QWERTY keyboard, expandable storage with a 64 megabyte memory card included, talk time of 2.5 hours and a standby of 230 hours, 15 hours of music playback or 10.5 hours of FM radio. Let's not forget about two features in this phone that were standard among many phones not too long ago: the removable battery and SD card slot. Do you miss having these features? Now going back to how I came to own the Nokia 3300. Being a teen at the time, I wanted a cool phone, but I wasn't cool enough to have a sidekick. I begged my mom for a cool phone because I wanted to be that kid. Some of the coolness factors of this phone included a full QWERTY keyboard that I didn't care about, an MP3 player, that was nice, a colored display, that was kinda cool, and lastly, it was not a flip phone, which was extra cool. The main feature of this phone was being an MP3 player. It came with a 64 megabyte memory card to load up your maybe 10 or so songs. It had a dedicated music button to launch the player, and the arrow controls were mapped specifically for the media player. The external mono speaker wasn't too bad. Aside from the music feature of this phone, the full QWERTY keyboard was huge at the time because everyone was getting their texting game on. I was not texting at all because I had a texting limit on my phone plan. Can you guys believe that text message limits were a thing not so long ago? I didn't text and my friends didn't want to be texted because both of us didn't want to get charged. The navigation menus were the iconic Nokia menus. I'm sure those that had an old Nokia will remember these menus, except they were in full color and animated for this phone. However, navigating this phone's menu was very painful because of its super tiny directional pad. I was basically using my fingernails at the time, or I'd trigger the wrong direction, which happened quite frequently. Now let's talk games. With the phone's color LCD and a full keyboard for two-handed use, this phone was perfectly set up for some major gaming, right? I didn't bother looking for games since I wasn't expecting any cool games like Mario or Zelda. So for the several years I had this phone, I was a sad kid playing the 4 pre-installed games, but on a cool phone. The first game is Snake. It's Snake, now in color. next game, Water Rapids. Water Rapids sent you rafting down river courses where you had to avoid stupid obstacles such as jet skiers and whirlpools. I actually quite enjoyed this game. The next game, DJ. DJ was a platformer where you, as a DJ, collect records on each level and practice scratching to eventually play at the clubs. I actually thought this looked pretty impressive for a Nokia phone game at the time. I played a lot of it until my thumbs would start hurting from all the button mashing. The last game was called VirtualMe. VirtualMe was a character creator where you can unlock items to change your appearance through a DDR-like arrow minigame. I didn't spend a lot of time on this game. It was my least favorite. So, some final thoughts about this phone. I feel like I could use this phone today if I just needed to make calls and texts. The MP3 player is still very usable today if I didn't have access to the internet. The full keyboard is also a rare feature today, and it feels amazing to be pushing actual buttons again. The ergonomic shape also made this phone amazing to hold. Just playing around with this old phone again makes me appreciate the unique design choices phone companies made back then. This phone holds a special place in my memory because it was my first phone. It was that time when my parents finally got a family phone plan. Everyone in my family got a new phone, and I wanted something so unique and something so cool. It was the phone I carried through high school, and I loved this phone for what it was back then.